Hello, I'm Louise Chun from Welldoing.org, and today I'm speaking to Julia Samuel, who's a grief counsellor and an author of several books. The most recent one is called This Too Shall Pass, and it came out in March. Its subhead is Stories of Change, Crisis and Hopeful Beginnings, which rather spookily completely tied in with the COVID-19 crisis. So Julia, welcome to welldoing.org and our Zoom chat. Uncertainty is really the center of your book, isn't it? And it's
Yes.
the center of our universe now.
Yes. I mean, the center of my book was that life is change, that however much we think we have control over our life, that there is always change. And that change happens whether we want it or whether we don't want it. And research shows that it happens every 7 to 10 years, either through events or through our own maturation. And that in the last 30 years as a therapist, whatever the presenting issue clients have come through my door with, the thing that connects them is their uneasy relationship with change, that they find change very difficult to deal with. And then they think they're doing it wrong. So, I mean, the kind of the only blessing, I don't think it's a blessing, the thing that we'll all connect on during the sort of pandemic is that we've all been thrown by the change, that it's on such an unprecedented scale. It happened in a way, it seemed so suddenly, and it tore through the world, and the whole world has been taken down by it. Is that you don't feel like you're the one on the outside while everyone else is sorted. So you find like you're in it together. But of course, there's always a spectrum. The people who have much more difficulty, often through economic position, but others from psychological position, that we have a different level of resilience and robustness to deal with change. And I think the main message of my book is that this idea that we can control our lives is a kind of 21st century idea, and it comes from science and technology, and it's a false one. So we have some agency, we can influence our lives, but fundamentally the things that matter to us most, you know, whether we live or die, is out of our control. And the pandemic, I think, has made us all feel more mortal, more aware of that death can kind of be walking towards us in the form of someone carrying a pathogen that we can catch. And that is frightening. And I think the message in my book that your people watching this, I hope they'd take, is that you can't fight the not knowing and you can't fight the change, but you can support yourself in it. And you can build resilience to kind of surf it. So if you kind of white knuckle it and think, I've got to will my way out of this, I've got to build a wall and push it away, then you will lose. But if you kind of recognize that kind of paradox, that the more I accept the things I cannot change, the more likely it is that change will occur. And recognize for yourself, what are your mechanisms that help you manage with the anxiety, with the not knowing, with not being able to plan long term or even that short term. And the thing I've learned from clients is, one of them is sort of keep it in the day. So keep your skylines short. So have structure, but have a simple structure that's for today and maybe the next few days, that you kind of, when you wake up in the morning, you kind of know what you're going to be doing over the next day. And then that gives you a feeling of agency through your day. Don't project too far into July or, you know, far away. Exercise, so that when we're in a state of not knowing, our whole body goes on alert into kind of fight or flight or freeze. And in the flight part of it, if you actually exercise, it lowers the cortisol, it gives you the dopamine, which calms you down. So your system then says, I'm safe. The tiger isn't at me. So you feel calmer. And that actually has a big effect on your capacity to cognate. Because when you're in fight or flight, your thinking goes offline because it's not needed. You only need your kind of twitch muscles. So when you kind of calm yourself down with exercise, and even doing a 5-minute breathing afterwards, where you breathe in for the count of 7 and out for the count of 11, your whole system then is kind of expanded. And then you can think about, what am I going to do to find a job, or support my dad who's not well, or, you know, I want to travel. How am I going to travel?
Yeah.
Rather than panicking, you know,
Yes.
where you can't
Yes.
think properly.
Yes.
So the structure helps, exercise helps, doing any kind of breathing calms you down. Funny enough, one of the sort of interesting things is helping others, kind of putting your attention to help other people. And that could be your neighbor, it could be ringing people, it could be doing anything small. Taking you out of yourself, helping others, makes you feel better out of it for yourself, gives you a sense of agency, and actually it improves your immune system. So there's lots of research about how altruism helps well-being. And then I think the last thing is hope. So hope is the alchemy that turns a life around. And that doesn't mean false hope, like la la la, you know, I'm gonna be fine. Hope is a feeling, but it's also a way of thinking, so that you have a kind of constructive plan that you want. So say you have something that you want for September, that you have a kind of pencil plan A, then you have a backup plan of what it could be if that doesn't quite work, and you have self-belief. And all of that, with the feeling of hope, gives you the energy to kind of move forward and try and make that plan real. And the other thing that I think really helps, the last one, or the biggest one really, is the love and connection to others. So that when people look back on their lives, what matters to them most is their love and connection. When we look at the research, like the 75-year Harvard study of people who looked at their lives, those who had loving relationships, it didn't have to be a partnership, lived longer, were wealthier, were healthier, had less pain in old age, and better memories. So kind of connection to others is good for us on so many levels. And so that, I think we need to prioritize it. And I think particularly now, even if it's through Zoom or WhatsApp or however it is, walking in the park now, we can do meeting people outside. I would make that a priority, because that really will help you balance yourself, feel alive. Because I think the pandemic makes you feel sort of scared and a bit dead.
Yeah.
Because you're scrabbling to understand it.
Yeah. And what about therapy? How can therapy help people recover from these sort of awful feelings of anxiety and sadness?
I think it's the relationship with the therapist, that this is your cut out time for yourself, where you don't have to be a particular way for anybody, that you can really kind of look into yourself and not distract yourself with being busy, but look at what you're really feeling, what's going on, that you build a relationship of trust and connection with this therapist, where in the kind of going inside, finding what's going on, finding words to describe it, voicing it, and in expressing it, you incrementally adjust to your new reality that you didn't want and you didn't choose. But as you adjust, it kind of frees you from the grief and allows you to kind of be restorative and have more investment in your present and your future. The things that you do to block the pain, where you kind of try and suppress it, they're the things that do you harm over time. So that therapy is preventative medicine in lots of ways, that it kind of enables you to process what's painful and difficult. And pain is an agent of change, but it's the place you can most be in touch with your pain, where you're supported through it, so that you find a way of accommodating and living with the difficult thing that's happened to you, whatever it is.
Okay, that's terrific. Thank you very much, Julia Samuel.
My pleasure, Louise Chan.